One morning you wake up. You glance at your phone. You grab your coffee. Life goes on as usual. But what if I told you none of this might be real? This room, this city, this planet, even yourself. And the scariest part? Some scientists think this is actually possible. Let's take a moment to imagine something together. Picture this. You fire up a game on your computer. Maybe it's GTA, The Sims, or Minecraft. Honestly, it doesn't really matter which one. In that vibrant game world, the characters, cars, and cities all feel so real, don't they? But deep down, you know the truth. It's all just lines of code. This brings us to a fascinating concept known as simulation theory. It poses a pretty mind-bending question. What if we're living in a game ourselves? Sure, it might sound like something straight out of the Matrix, but believe it or not, this idea isn't just a plot twist in a sci-fi flick. Philosophers, physicists, and tech experts have been wrestling with this question for years. And here's the kicker. It might actually be more plausible than you'd expect. Back in 2003, a philosopher named Nick Bostrom stepped onto the scene with a thought experiment that really makes you think. He started by asking us to consider something we all know: video games. They're everywhere, right? And every year they just keep getting more and more realistic. Remember the games from 2 decades ago? They were just a bunch of pixels on the screen. Fast forward to today, and it's like we're playing through movies. Now, let's take a leap into the future. What do you think gaming will look like in 100 years? How about 1,000 years? Bostrom suggests that one day, technology will advance to the point where computers can create entire universes that feel completely real. Imagine characters in those worlds who are conscious and aware, basically, artificial humans. Here's where it gets really mind-bending. Bostrom poses a question. If in the future, billions of these simulations are created, will there be more beings living in the real universe or in these simulations? The answer is a bit chilling. It's likely that there will be far more people living in the simulations. So, statistically speaking, the chance that we're currently living in a simulation might actually be greater than the chance that we're in the real universe. Yeah, take a moment to let that sink in. But hold on, because things are about to get even weirder. Have you ever wondered how video games actually work? Well, it's pretty fascinating. Essentially, a computer creates as much detail as its processing power can handle. But here's the kicker. If you're not looking at something in the game, it doesn't bother rendering it. In simpler terms, it doesn't even create that part of the world until you turn your gaze. Think about it. When you spin around in a game, the scenery behind you isn't really there. It only pops into existence when you turn to face it. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Some experiments in physics suggest that the universe behaves in a surprisingly similar way. Scientists studying atoms have found something mind-boggling. When we're not observing something, it seems to lack a definite state. But the moment we look at it, it suddenly chooses what it's going to be. It's almost like the universe is saying, "Oh, you're watching? All right, let me generate those details for you." I know, it sounds incredibly strange, right? And believe it or not, we're just scratching the surface here. All right, here's another intriguing clue for you. Did you know the universe has a speed limit? Yep, it's the speed of light. Nothing can zip past that. But why is that? Honestly, scientists are still scratching their heads over it. Now, let's take a moment to think about it. When you're deep into a video game, there's a maximum frame rate to keep everything running smoothly. If it goes too high, you risk lagging out, thanks to server limits or processor limits. So, What if the speed of light is like the universe's own processor limit? In other words, it's a safeguard to keep everything from freezing up. Pretty mind-blowing, right? But hold on tight, because the real kicker is coming up next. Take a moment to really focus on your phone screen. What do you see? Those tiny little squares? Yep, those are pixels. And that's how computer graphics come to life. Now, let's take a step back and think about something pretty mind-blowing. As scientists delved into the mysteries of the universe, they stumbled upon a fascinating discovery. Matter can't be split infinitely. At some point, you reach a limit where there just aren't any smaller pieces to chop up. Believe it or not, the universe has its own smallest building block. It's almost like reality is constructed from these tiny little blocks, just like pixels on your screen. So, what does this mean for us? Well, it suggests that the universe might not be a smooth, continuous expanse after all. Instead, it could be more like a grid made up of these tiny pieces, kind of like a video game world. Now, if your brain is starting to feel a little overwhelmed, you're not alone. But hang tight, because the real question is just around the corner. All right, let's entertain the idea that we're living in a simulation for a moment. What does that really mean for us? Picture this. Right now, somewhere out there, someone might be watching you as you watch this video. Kind of strange, right? But let's dive a little deeper. When we play games like The Sims, what do? We watch the characters, we guide their lives, and we make choices for them. It's possible they think they're living their own reality, just like we do. Now let's tackle some of the bigger questions. Who's behind this simulation? What's their motivation? Are we part of some grand experiment, or is it just for kicks? Maybe we're just a slice of their history, or perhaps we're nothing more than a school project. And here's the real kicker. What would happen if they decided to pull the plug on the simulation? Hey, do you remember that iconic movie, The Matrix? In it, déjà vu is portrayed as a glitch in the system, a little hiccup in reality. Have you ever had that feeling in your own life? You know, like, I've been here before. Or maybe you've experienced some really bizarre coincidences that made you stop and think. Sometimes, reality can feel a bit too perfect or just downright strange, right? Now, I'm not saying this is solid proof of anything, but it does make you wonder, what if some of those quirky moments we experience are just little glitches in our own simulation? All right, let's dive into the wildest question of all. If we're living in a simulation, can we actually figure that out? Think about it. Can a character in a video game ever realize they're just a part of a game? And here's the big one. Can they break free? Some scientists suggest that by pushing the boundaries of the laws of physics, we might just send a message to the creators of this simulation. Imagine running experiments that require more computing power than the universe can handle, essentially trying to crash the game. It's a mind-bending idea, isn't it? Both a little crazy and totally thrilling at the same time. But here's the real kicker. Does it even matter if it's real or not? If what you feel is genuine, if your loved ones are truly there, if your happiness is real, would it change anything if we discovered it was all a simulation? Maybe reality isn't so much about where we are, but rather what we feel. So, let me leave you with one last thought. If we could prove that life is a simulation, would you want to know? Or would you rather keep it a mystery to avoid spoiling the fun? Just picture this. Someone might be sitting in front of a screen right now, waiting for you to finish this video. And maybe, just maybe, when you hit that pause button, the game will take a breather. What do you think? Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the Logic Edge channel.